Audio Jungle.
Man said to be on Son Mine mobbed over fatal stabbing in Trelawney. A man said to be of Unson Mine was on Friday afternoon mobbed and beaten by irritated residents of Hague Settlement in Trelawney over the stabbing death of a man in the community. Dead is 56-year-old Mason Leroy McIntosh. It is reported that McIntosh was stabbed in an altercation with a 34-year-old man. Following the incident, he was attacked by residents and sustained injuries. He was taken to the Falmouth Hospital where he is receiving treatment. Paddock PJ Patterson says FSC may face lawsuit in SSL fraud scandal. Former Prime Minister PJ Patterson said the Financial Service Commission FSC had better pad up on top-class legal term over potential lawsuits from 200 clients whose funds were stolen from their investment accounts at Fraud Hit Stock and Securities Limited SSL. Mr. Bolt has very competent lawyers. I do not intend or need to offer them legal advice, but what I would say is, if they have not already done so, the FSC had better pad up on top-class legal team because the question is going to arise, has there been a breach of the statutory duties? And they certainly expose themselves to civil action in our courts by any or all of the 200 investors whose money has disappeared, Patterson, a lawyer by profession, said at a PNP event held at Summit Hotel in St. Andrew on Thursday night. In early 2023, SSL found itself at the center of what has emerged as the biggest fraud in Jamaica's history. However, despite the balloon in fraud and the expansion investigation involving FID, Fraud Squad, the United States Federal Bureau of Investigations, and UK-based forensics firm and other agencies, just one individual, former advisor Jean Panton, has been charged. Panton confessed to stealing from clients' account and has been charged with 3 counts of larceny as a servant, 5 counts of forgery, 5 counts of authoring forged document, 3 counts of engaging in transaction involving criminal property, and 3 counts of breaches of the Cybercrime Act. Her case is currently before the Home Circuit Court. Parsons believes it is unlikely that Panton, if guilty, acted alone. I know there is a legal presumption of innocence to which all accused are entitled. If anyone thinks that whatever Miss Patterson is accused of doing, if in fact she did anything, could be done by her alone, must still believe that the world is flat, Patterson noted. Justice demands that the thief or thieves be found and receivers of the stolen money end up where those who have been convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction go, where criminals belong. The former Prime Minister also criticizes the government for what he suggests was its attempt to muzzle the opposition in the matter. I ask how many governments in their right sense possible think that the failure of a licensed institution to repay 200 investors whose money has vanished could become an issue of national secrecy. It is a matter which of concern to the entire nation and our standing in the world, and for them to have thought so, borders and limits when one of the members is a living legend, Patterson noted. Usain Bolt is a loyal Jamaican who is an intentional icon. It is just sheer stupidity for them to pretend that this thing could happen and the opposition is not going to say anything about it. We're not creating any partisan issue out of it. This is a national issue, he continued. We must not prejudice the right of a fair trial of any accused, but there are issues which, according to our constitutional entitlement of free speech, demand ventilation and not a muzzle. Tavares Vincent says shameless PJ Patterson PNP should not mislead concerning SSL. Government Senator Tom Tavares Vincent is then bashing former Prime Minister PJ Patterson for his failure to apologize for his administration's reckless fiscal policy. Citing a recent People's National Party PNP summit in St. Andrew, the senator said many Jamaicans, who will never forget, were once again disappointed when PJ Patterson attended the event and failed to apologize for his administration's reckless FinSac policy, which destroyed more than 40,000 businesses and drove some Jamaicans to commit suicide. Tavares Vincent said the Patterson comment on SSL and an attempt to assign political blame to the JLP for fraud at the entity are unbecoming and misleading. The senator pointed to court documents which he said revealed that many of those impacted by fraud at SSL had a substantial portion of their investment fleeced in 2012 and 2013 when the PNP was in government. This occurred while the ex-PNP administration was being warned by the FSC about misconduct of the entity, yet no effective measures were put in place to protect investors, Tom Tavares-Vincent stated. The senator decried the PNP's inappropriate move to name-drop Usain Bolt, describing it as an unfortunate and betraying their increasingly callous desperation for a return to political power. Usain deserves better than to have his name used in such a vulgar manner for a political gain, he noted. Patterson's entire narrative regarding the SSL issue, coupled with his failure to properly address the FinSac debacle, had led many Jamaicans to conclude that his position himself at the forefront of the line when the ability to be shameless was being apportionate, the senator penned in his headed rebuke. Tavares-Vincent encouraged Patterson to be contrite and apologize. Police are core human rights activists, stated Commissioner. Police Commissioner Kevin Blake is positioning lawmen as human rights activists amid a row between the Jamaica Constabulary Force and activist group Jamaicans for Justice (JFJ). In a release Friday, the Constable Communications Network (CCN) highlighted an internal column written by Blake. I challenge anyone to find a greater advocate for human rights than those who put their lives on the line every day in protection of others, he stated. While acknowledging the idea of the police as human rights advocates may seem, to some, like a contradiction, the JCF said that the concept of human rights is meaningless without security. The police also insists that they are being judged based on their shortcomings, as good deeds go ignored. While we continue to improve our service delivery and address challenges, we are also continuing to put the back against which any attempt to use these to define us, Blake noted. The narrative surrounding law enforcement is often framed at its shortcomings by the misdeeds of a few, the perceptions of bias, and the constant scrutiny of oversight bodies. It is an unfortunate reality that the lowest voices in discussions on policing are often those that critique it rather than those who see its fundamental role in ensuring that human rights are upheld, not in theory, but in practice, the press release contended. The statement follows several back and forth exchanges between the Commissioner and JFG over concerns about the mounting number of police killings in the country. Blake has shrugged off JFG's insist that body-worn cameras would assist greatly in the investigations. In the first 51 days of 2025, around 50 people were killed by the JCF. The JFG has continued to highlight conflicting accounts between police officers and residents when alleged criminals are killed. The press release maintained that JCF has not above scrutiny but called for what is described as balance. Just as citizens need safeguarding from crime, officers need safeguarding from misrepresentation, unfair criticism, and the unrealistic expectation that they can operate in a world devoid of danger and split-second decision. Yes, officers must be held accountable. Yes, law enforcement must be constantly seeking to improve, but it must also be acknowledged that without the police, there is no security, and without security, there is no rights to protect, it stated. Describing police as the center of human rights discussions, the lawmen called for empowerment of the force. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.